Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. Welcome to an Open That Book. If you don't know what Open That Book is, when I originally started the series, I had basically told people I had all these books that I had never looked at, and some I'd had for years, some I'd had for a few months, and I just was never finding the time to look at them. I would order them online, or I would have bought them at a store. You go to like bookstore and you grab 3 books, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna look at them tonight, and tonight never happens. And I got this probably 2.5 to 3 months ago. I've only looked at like the first 4 pages, so let's do this. Open that book, Rich. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Okay, so this is published by IDW and DC Comics. The curator of these books is a good friend of mine, Scott Dunbier. Fantastic guy. Really, really just a visionary in terms of getting comic-related art books out. And these books are, most people know, but just in case you don't, they're shot from the original art. They're full size, and they're just really, really incredible. For artists, I consider them the best study tools out there. In the last couple of years, these are really the only books that I buy. They are very expensive. They're about $100. I would say they range anywhere from $90 to about $150. I'll have a link in the description below where you can check out IDW's site and kind of peruse through what they offer. So yeah, let's get to this. I'm going to do this in 3 parts. My goal is, if we can get this to 60 likes today, 60, I will upload part 2. I'm going to do these in smaller chunks. I used to do them in like 30-minute chunks. I just feel that it's a little too long and a big commitment for people to just come in and knock out a 30-minute video. But with that, if I do them in smaller parts, like the 3 parts for this book, you can take it in like 8-minute chunks, okay? You can see a little white paint. And what's great is because they're shot off the originals, you can really see the tools and all these little extra things that you might not notice in a published book. And because they're full size, you're just getting killer detail. Bernie Wrightson, incredibly important artist in comic books, highly influential, part of the studio with Barry Windsor Smith, Jeff Jones, and Mike Kaluta. They were all, I believe, heavily influenced by Frazetta. So there's this incredible chain of influence that's just shuttling through the work. And for me, Wrightson was the first artist that I saw in comics that was not only doing horror, which was a little bit unusual, but I just had this like insane detail to his work. I didn't discover him until like the 90s, so I don't want to make it sound like this is way back in the 70s or something, but this is all just preface art. So we'll get into the meat and potatoes. Okay, so this book contains, I believe, either some full comic stories or at least full short stories, and then like cover and pin-up galleries and probably some really cool bonuses. But I mean, just really, really, this looks like brushwork to me. There may be some Crowquill in it, but I'm seeing mostly brush on this stuff right here. And we'll scoot through some of the sequential pages a little quicker. This is a very big book. They're usually 120 some odd pages. So to really, I think, stick on just individual sequential pages would be a bit of a mistake, especially, keying on the money shots. And you can always pause the video if you see something that you really like that you want to revisit. But yeah, I probably didn't even get through this full story. I kind of pace these books out, I'll be honest. When I get an artist edition book, I really kind of use it as almost like a virtual art collection that I've somehow acquired. And I look at this stuff, I'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on each page. You have to understand, and again, I know a lot of artists follow my YouTube channel. We spend a lot of time on this art, and I think that it deserves quality time looking at it, looking at this panel and thinking like, how would I have drawn that? Or just appreciating what Wrightson did on it. What are the techniques that he used? What was the thought process behind the perspective that he chose? Just all the little nuances. That's really cool. Like a lizard candle holder. Man, his imagination was great. That's really cool too. I got the opportunity to meet him, I think, 2 times, just as a fan. Once maybe about 9 years ago, and then I think 2 years ago. Unfortunately, Bernie's not with us anymore, so I have a tribute video. I'll actually put a link in the description below to it. But I think I have at least one other Wrightson video, if not 2. This is really cool. See that white paint that he ran through? Just to create just a little bit. It's really interesting to me too, because I definitely consider Wrightson an influence, or at least a creative ignition for me. But when I see some of this stuff now, I realize that it probably actually affected me a little more than I realized, because it's weird. Sometimes I'm known for very, very clean inks, but I actually don't think that there's an organic quality to my work that I think maybe does come from stuff like this, where, if you really look at like a Frazetta piece or like a Wrightson piece, there's a solidity to it, but there's also a bit of an organic quality that gives it a little bit of life, a little bit of breathing room. These are great faces, man. So cool. It's going to kill me to shut this thing off at like 8.5 minutes, but like I said, just smash the like and I'll keep putting. This dog is awesome, actually. Man, that's so cool. Yeah, it's going to break my heart to shut this off at like 8 minutes. We'll go to 9, just because I like you. I like all of you. But yeah, so let's get it to 60 likes. I'll fire it off. I'll do another one today. I'm kind of waiting until noon for some pages to come in for myself, and they'll need to be approved by editorial, so I have a little bit of dead time this morning, but I'm going to actually do a lot of stuff to keep productive, because I do have things to do. All right, man, look at that. Love the trees in the background, those ones that are just kind of indicated by like more like line work. Really, really cool. Creates a nice sense of motion in that panel too. It's a great pose. The guy with his head back. Wrightson does great hands. I mean, that's definitely, oh, this is a nice money shot right here. Woo, look at that. They need to do the Frankenstein book. I know a few years ago they were working on getting together kind of like an artist edition type thing. I don't believe through IDW, but I could be wrong on that. But unfortunately, they couldn't find all the plates. So if, say, there were 110 Frankenstein plates all total, they could only come up with maybe 85. These numbers are just at the guesstimates. But, and it kind of, I think, just sort of drifted away, and I honestly think that if they could even get 60 of the original Wrightson pieces and then just did something else like extras, I mean, I would still get it in a second. So good. You can kind of see a little bit of the Frankenstein style. Well, not a little, there's quite a bit. I mean, this is definitely sort of that moment where he's bringing that stuff in, this era of his work, that Franklin Booth, Joseph Clement Cole detailing is coming in. So, okay, we're at 8.5 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, let's do this. The pinup gallery in the back is sick. I know it's sick. I haven't even seen it. I had to crack the book open today just to make sure that it wouldn't. I did a test just to see if it would stay on my desk. So I opened it towards the back, and I saw one really killer pinup. But all right, Wrightson Artist Edition. What's it called? Oh, I wanted to say too. Okay, look on the cover. There's at least 2 covers for this. I like this cover a lot and went with this. But there is a Swamp Thing cover and maybe like a New York Comic Con exclusive or something like that. They sometimes do that. So this is called the Artifact Edition. Artifact Edition and Artist Edition are slightly different. They're both the same size. Artifact Edition is more of a compilation, where Artist Editions generally contain full stories, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the distinction between the two. We'll do 2 more pages, and I'm going to call this. It's really cool. It's almost like you can see a little bit of Neil Adams or vice versa in that pose. It has a little bit of a Neil Adams kind of feel. But, so many people were influenced by this stuff. And even if the style didn't come through in your art, this is the kind of thing that started to create the crazy detail in comics. I bet the studio guys kind of drove the old school guys a little bit nuts, because where, you know, a comic book artist can say that the 60s or even early 70s might, you know, knock out 2 or 3 pages in a day, these guys just upped the game, and all of a sudden it was like, uh-oh, we have to compete with this. These kids are nuts. But yeah, stuff like that, that's really actually nice. I like this panel up here quite a bit. Okay, this will be the last page, and I'm going to call it. Man, look at those bottles. So cool, that cabinet. Oh, look at the skull. Cool angle. Dang. And again, really, really cool hands. Wrightson is fantastic at hands. Expressive hands. So important to good art. James. I always tease a friend of mine that he needs to draw better hands. Now he's going to be embarrassed. It's okay, James. Just work on them. Then you'll have it all at your fingertips. All right. Smash the like. I will be back with part 2 as soon as I see that like get up to 60. All right? Take it easy and have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please do.